Hello, fishes, and welcome back to one of the final four of the Bros mural. Oh my goodness. We are here with the last Street Fighter rep, which is Ken. Um, since Rose did Ryu last week, it's only fair that I do this one, so she's not talking about Street Fighter 2 weeks in a row. And there's not a whole lot of options left for me to talk, so I figured I'd get a couple, like this one and at least one more in to help her out. So much like Rose, I haven't had too much experience with Street Fighter, but I have had a little bit more than her. One of my first introductions, like I don't know if I've ever played a Street Fighter game, but I have played Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I think. It was on the Xbox. It was my cousins had it, and I played it a couple times with them. But I would always play as Spider-Man because Spider-Man was my favorite superhero growing up, and he's still one of my favorites. But yeah, that was my first real introduction to Street Fighter. Funny enough, that was also my first introduction to Mega Man because Mega Man was also in that game. My cousins would play him a lot. So that was, fun fact that I didn't realize that was my first real instance for Mega Man until doing the research for this. But with Street Fighter, the other big introduction I had to Street Fighter, especially with Ken and Ryu specifically, was Rocket Ralph, because you see them very briefly. When the arcade closes, they're just kind of there, which is kind of fun to see that. And at the time when that movie came out, I wasn't 100% sure. I knew the characters, but I didn't know who they were. And then you also have Zangief and Bison make appearances in the Wreck-It Ralph movie, so that's cool. Again, I don't have too much knowledge of Street Fighter. I have seen, not recently, but in general, I've seen the movie. From what I understand, it's not the greatest representation of the game. But again, I didn't have any, context for the game, so I thought the movie was okay. Wasn't great, wasn't terrible. But as for now, I guess I should talk a little bit about actually Ken specifically. With there's a lot of things about Ken that I didn't know going into this. Ken and Ryu are best friends / rivals, which makes sense. They're always kind of paired together. They're all and that makes sense. But I didn't know that they trained under the same master, from what I understand. And Ken is actually, family is very rich. His family owns a bunch of hotels, and his dad was afraid that Ken would grow up to be a spoiled rich boy, so his dad sent him off to train to learn how to fight, which is really cool. But there was also family issues growing up. His parents were fighting and thought about getting a divorce, and Ken is just kind of is like, well, I'll show you. And so he dyed his hair blonde, and he just basically became like an delinquent, I think is what I read. Was the wording they used, just to be like, okay, I'm gonna do this for attention so you guys won't get a divorce. And his parents actually, got better, and they started, taking care of each other and continuing through, and he kept his hair blonde as kind of like a reminder to his parents, saying like, hey, remember, don't do anything stupid. Which I think is funny and petty, and I love it. He has a wife and son, which again I didn't know, but I'm all for. His wife's name is Eliza, and his son's name is Mel. And they're not like super important gameplay wise, but they're just kind of there for the lore. And that's some like big thing that I never really thought about. Like story wise for these characters, like I never really thought that they had lore. You know, it makes sense, and I'm glad that they do. But just them having like actual backstory and lore and stuff is just something you don't really ever think about, especially when you only really ever see them in Smash Bros, where you know lore is kind of subjective. But having that context for the story is really cool. He Ken is like a family man. His family is the most important thing to him, and he refuses to do stuff on Sunday because he goes to church with his family every Sunday. And again, it's just really humanizes him as a character more than just punchy Hadoken. I may have sound very ignorant there because I don't know if Ken can do the Hadoken. I'm not a huge fighting game person. Like Smash Bros is the exception. I've played some Mortal Kombat with Rose in the past, but I've never really been a huge fighting game person. So, but yeah, so I've had fun doing the research for this project. I've learned a lot about a lot of the characters that I did not know about in Smash Bros. And to watch the art change and grow as Rose becomes more comfortable doing this has been a lot of fun. Being able to help her with the, you know, talking about it every now and then, because there are times that I know more about it than she does. And it just has been so much fun to learn and grow and get to be here with you guys to show like this side of it, because I'm sure not everyone knows about all the characters in Smash Bros. And I know there have been times like we've talked that we've had less knowledge of the characters, and so it gives us an excuse to learn. And that's been such a fun takeaway from this, is growing and becoming more than what we are in knowledge on things that we enjoy, because we both love playing Smash Bros together. It's been a lot of fun to have Rose like grow as a gamer in that regard, because she's not a huge fighting game person either. But she's gotten better in Smash Bros, and again, it's just been so much fun. So I want to thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell, and wait till the end of the video to see who the next fighter is. And we will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.